It is Monday, May 19th, and President Trump delivering on his promises to eliminate federal income taxes, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. It is happening. The big, beautiful bill advancing through the House, passing a significant milestone late last night. We're going to show you also Dems and the media lying their butts off about this bill, about what this bill does. This is the most significant pro-American piece of legislation we've seen in decades. This is huge. We'll explain, and more stories as well from around the country. But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps out the channel. And consider subscribing so you don't miss these regular updates.
I'm calling for no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security benefits for our great seniors.
So President Trump's primary goal from the beginning was to eliminate federal income taxes for the middle class. Middle class, no tax. No tax for the middle class. That is the goal. That's what these tariffs are for. That and to act as a forcing function to force companies back to the United States, force all the factories and plants back to the good old US of A. After years of failed policies, making it easier, cheaper to build products overseas, shutting their manufacturing down here, delegating the building process to China or India or Indonesia or whomever. No more. Those days are over. Doing this isn't easy. It's very difficult. Trump's done his part, what he can. He levied the tariffs, forced 85 of our biggest trading partners to the negotiating table, doing these trade deals, taking lead on rebuilding this global trading system. But another part to the puzzle is the big, beautiful bill you've heard him talk about. That falls on Congress. Trump can only do so much to codify these policies into law, to deliver the second part of this process. The Republican Party has to fall in line and pass the big, beautiful bill. And what do you know? Late last night, Republicans making progress. About freaking time. We put you there for a reason, and it looks like you may actually be doing your job, advancing Trump's big, beautiful bill in a rare late night vote. Deficit hawks in the House capitulating to the president and to Speaker Johnson, flipping their no votes to present. Not voting yes, but voting present, allowing the bill to now move forward to a full floor vote. This is huge. Advancing the bill out of the House Budget Committee where it's been stuck, clearing a huge hurdle and setting the stage to get this game-changing legislation through the finish line. Over the next week, there will be like a massive effort to corral all the factions of the Republican caucus, get them all in line, even the budget hawks, get this done. This bill delivering a handful of Trump's campaign promises, including eliminating taxes for the middle class, for the working class. If you're a waiter or a hairdresser, a barber, an Uber driver, a police officer, a firefighter, etc., this is for you. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. It codifies Trump's 2017 tax cuts into law permanently, but also eliminates taxes completely for tips and overtime. White House press secretary announcing the success Trump made last night in swinging the votes of these four Republican holdouts, saying this morning that this bill is pure MAGA. Call your congressman, tell them to vote yes, tell them get on board. The big, beautiful bill includes the largest tax cuts in history, including no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, massive border security funding, and $1.6 trillion in cuts to the federal government, shrinking the bloat in our federal government. This bill is the reason Republicans have the majority right now in Congress. So do your freaking jobs. Watch.
The One Big Beautiful Bill passed the House Budget Committee last night, bringing it one step closer to final passage. The One Big Beautiful Bill is perfectly named because it represents a once-in-a-generation opportunity to deliver on the Make America Great Again agenda responsible for President Trump's landslide victory on November 5th. The America First policies in this bill are the reason why Republicans currently have the majority in Congress right now. Passing this bill is what voters sent Republicans to Washington to accomplish. And that's why it's essential that every Republican in the House and the Senate unites behind President Trump and passes this popular and essential legislative package. This bill will be the single most pro-small business, pro-family, and pro-American worker legislation ever. This bill will give Americans the largest tax cuts in our nation's history. When Republicans pass the bill, Americans will be keeping more of their hard-earned money and taking home much bigger paychecks. The One Big Beautiful Bill will deliver some of President Trump's central campaign promises. No tax on tips for our hardworking waiters, waitresses, and service workers. No tax on overtime for our law enforcement officers, our firefighters, and all those Americans who are putting in extra hours to make ends meet. And a large tax deduction on interest payments for Americans who purchase American-made cars. Despite desperate Democrat lies, the biggest beneficiary of this tax cut will be working-class Americans and their families. Americans earning between $30,000 and $80,000 per year will pay about 15% less in taxes after this legislation is passed. And according to a brand new paper from the White House Council of Economic Advisors, the average family with 2 children's take-home pay will be up to $13,000 higher because of the increase in wages and reductions in tax obligations.
The Dem Party, with their stenographers and corporate media, trying to create a false narrative around this, trying to hammer home the point that these tax cuts predominantly benefit the billionaire class while cutting Medicaid for low-income families. A big, fat lie. What they're not telling you is this bill doesn't provide any new tax cuts for the rich. It only makes Trump's 2017 tax cuts permanent. The biggest beneficiary of this bill goes to the middle class and the working class. Americans earning between $30,000 to $80,000 a year will pay 15% less in taxes if this bill passes. The average family take-home pay will be on average $13,000 higher because of this bill, according to the White House Council on Economic Advisors. And what about the claim that this budget bill will cut Medicaid for millions of low-income families? That's what they're saying. Watch.
This budget bill is an absolute disaster. It is going to kick over 10 million people off of their health care. Medicaid covers about a quarter of all Americans in order to pass along a new $1 trillion tax cut for the richest 1%. Nobody in this country is asking for that.
What they're conveniently leaving out, though, of their approved talking points is that the only people cut from Medicaid will be illegal aliens. Not one American, not one legal immigrant will have their Medicaid cut. Only the millions of illegal, undocumented aliens that Joe Biden allowed to enter the country will be kicked off. It kicks off the illegal aliens from Medicaid, reforming it so we can actually afford to keep paying for it. At the moment, taxpayers are paying for millions of undocumented immigrants on Medicaid and other benefit programs. That ends if this passes, and good riddance. In another story, President Trump wrapping up his 2-hour-long, very meaningful phone call this morning with President Vladimir Putin. The first time, get this, the first time an American president spoke to Putin in over 4 years. Wasting no time, Trump's like the Energizer Bunny. Fresh off his Middle East trip where he secured over $3 trillion in foreign investment, securing a ceasefire between India and Pakistan last week. Then on Friday, Trump organizing the first peace talks between Ukraine and Russia in over 3 years, saying then that it was a good first step, those peace talks, but nothing's going to happen until he speaks to Putin directly, which he did this morning. The call lasting for more than 2 hours, the White House suggesting heavy lifting was done, accomplished at restoring Washington-Moscow relations. Russian state media reporting Putin called the conversation with Trump useful, saying Russia is now ready to work with Ukraine on a peace deal, saying after this call, a truce is now possible if certain agreements can be reached. VP Vance speaking to reporters about the call and the epic screw-up the last administration made by allowing this war to spiral out of control in the first place, saying Trump thinks we need to move beyond these stupid mistakes of the past, and he's working on doing exactly that. Watch.
Talks have been proceeding for a little while. We realize there's a bit of an impasse here, and I think the president's going to say to President Putin, look, are you serious? Are you real about this? I think, honestly, that President Putin, he doesn't quite know how to get out of the war. This is a little bit of guess, but I think the president would agree that part of this is I'm not sure that Vladimir Putin has a strategy himself for how to unwind the war, of course, that's been going on for a few years now. There's fundamental mistrust between Russia and the West. It's one of the things the president thinks is frankly stupid, that we should be able to move beyond the mistakes that have been made in the past, but that takes two to tango. I know the president's willing to do that, but if Russia's not willing to do that, then we're eventually just going to have to say, this is not our war.
Over the weekend, Trump foreshadowing this call by saying this: the subjects of the call will be stopping the bloodbath that is killing, on average, more than 5,000 Russian and Ukrainian soldiers a week, and on trade. Look, Trump's a very unique president. He makes all his decisions like a CEO. Does this put America first? That's what he gauges every decision by. Will this help lower prices? Will it help grow the economy? The Middle East trip, for instance, he just wrapped up. So much happening there. All with the broader goal to get oil down, to set up a possible petrodollar 2.0. You don't hear much about that on the media. Everything he's doing is to build the U.S. up to take off economically. His policies helping certain sectors, though, over others. One sector I wouldn't want to be anywhere near is pharma. The Trump administration reining in big pharma, but the energy sector, the mining sector, MAGA policies are a huge boost to energy, precious metals, mining. It's why gold's taking off like a rocket ship. Couple that with Moody's recent downgrade of the U.S. credit rating, making institutional investors a bit worried. If the U.S. is suddenly at risk of paying its debts, treasuries then no longer the safest asset class. But you know what is? Gold. Wall Street investment banks predicting gold marching even higher. JP Morgan saying they see gold prices crossing 4,000 an ounce by 2026. And there's more demand than supply, a lacking supply. The gold mining industry has faced crisis over the past 15 years. Exploration budgets have stagnated or declined. Discoveries plummeting. Between 1990 to 2023, there were 350 deposits containing 2.9 billion ounces found. But only 29 of those occurred post-2010. No major discoveries since 2016 in 9 years. Global gold production has stagnated. Projections of a 17% supply drop are now out there by 2030. Bottom line, existing mines are depleting faster than reserves are replenishing them. This is leading to a major supply crunch. Mines are depleting, that's a fact. No major new discoveries, another fact, which is why I'm incredibly bullish on gold. All right, that wraps up the news portion of this video. Now let me tell you about the sponsor for today, Axecap Ventures, whose insiders are buying stock in recent weeks. As I'm going to show you, Axecap Ventures incorporated to make investments to rapidly capitalize on the distressed conditions of the gold industry. The management assumes that their assets, which are comprised of around 5.5 million ounces of gold equivalent resource in the measured and indicated category, and an additional 500,000 ounces in the inferred category, valued around $5 an ounce, while their peers are trading for 8 times as much, or 700% more, could be re-rated. You heard that right. Start researching Axecap Ventures. Their thesis is based on the case studies of previous instances in which similar situations have led to meaningful appreciation. Axecap Ventures' flagship Converse project in Nevada's Battle Mountain Trend, a premier gold jurisdiction producing 75% of U.S.'s gold, is a standout. The project's October 2024 mineral resource estimate reports 5.57 million ounces of measured and indicated gold and 0.42 million ounces inferred, with a drill program launched in March of this year. Insider purchases now totaling 1.2 million in Q1 signals strong management confidence. For example, on May 1st, 2025, Mario Vetro, co-founder and director, purchased 20,000 shares. On top of that, Tyrone Brettenbach, the second co-founder and a director, purchased 50,000. The day before that, On April 30th, Mario purchased 10,000 more. The day before that, 15,000 shares. On April 28th, he purchased 25,000 shares. On April 25th, purchased another 110,000 shares. On the 24th, he purchased 60,000 more shares at 15 cents Canadian, collectively totaling 240,000 shares just on the last week of April. The team assembled to run Axecap Ventures have been involved in the discovery of over 20 million ounces of gold with previous endeavors. Here's the value proposition. Advanced gold deposits are trading anywhere from $40 to $60 per ounce. Axecap Ventures is trading at $5 an ounce. The company is cashed up with around $10 million cash on hand. Peers trade at around $49 an ounce on average. Axecap Ventures market cap translates to only $5 an ounce. So look, research Axecap Ventures. The business model, it's simple. Drill the properties in order to create the conditions for an exit at valuations comparable to recent ones. All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.